Hi everyone, it is time for one of the most exciting vlogs I have ever worked on, and that is going to be the first episode in a new video series called Rainbow Reading, where I'm going to be reading queer books in order of the rainbow, as well as recommending books for every color or mentioning books that I really want to read. This idea was definitely sparked by Chelsea from Chelsea Donley Reads. She does this series called Reading the Rainbow, where she basically reads like books in one color in one vlog, and so watching her videos made me think of this idea. So I wanted to give credit to her. She's also wonderful. She has been on a hiatus on YouTube, but I absolutely love her channel, so I'm gonna have it linked down below with the playlist to the Rainbow series. And yeah, I don't want to make this too long because this is going to be a long reading vlog, so get a snack, get comfortable, and I hope that you enjoy this video. Everyone, so I have officially started the first book for this video, which is 1500 Miles from the Sun by Johnny Garzavia, and I am currently 23% into it, and I'm already loving it. It is so cute. So this is a YA contemporary romance. So far, at least from what I can tell, it has a really great balance between coming of age and the romance. So like there's nothing romantic happening yet, but like I think that's just, I have a feeling that that's how it's going to continue and develop, and I'm so here for that. Like I love both romances and coming of age stories, but I do love when there's like a really good mixture of the two. We have Jules and Matt, and Jules is a gay Chicano boy, and he accidentally comes out to his friends when he gets drunk. So that is how it begins, and then basically online he meets Matt and they start texting, which like, oh my god, when I found out that this is like a long distance romance and like an online texting romance, like I was over the moon, and so far I'm not disappointed in the slightest, because in case you didn't know, I love texting in books, long distance relationships, anything like that. I am here for it. If you ever have recommendations, please give them to me. The first sentence that it's described as is a poignant, funny, open-hearted novel about coming out, first love, and being your one and only best and true self. So this book is partially about coming out, but it doesn't feel like the main thing at all, and so I feel like if you don't fully like coming out stories, I still think there's a high chance you're going to love this. And so it is filled with so much joy already. Also, I forgot to mention that I know this cover isn't fully pink, but I just really wanted to read it for this video because I thought I would really love it, and that is definitely the case for now. So I hope you consider it pink, because there is pink. It is available on Kindle Unlimited as an ebook and an audiobook, which is the biggest blessing. We are starting off strong. So I'm gonna go back to reading, and I'll update you when I get some more reading done. So it's time for an update. It's a little bit later, and I am now a little bit over halfway through the book, and holy shit. So you know how I said that it's super light and fun and filled with so much joy? That is definitely true, but I have now got to the part that is really heavy and heartbreaking. So there are some things that happen that are really painful. So I'm not going to get into the details now, but I will have all the content warnings on my Goodreads, which is linked down below, so do check that out. Yeah, that is, I think, the main thing that I want to mention. Besides that, I'm still just really enjoying the book. I'm super invested in Julian and Matt, and I love all the other friends. So there are some friendships in this book, which I always love, and so overall, I'm really enjoying it. I just wanted to mention, you know, what I just mentioned, and I'm just going to update you when I finish the book. I just finished 1500 Miles from the Sun, and I loved it. It was just so sweet and wonderful, and I'm pretty sure I already said it multiple times, but I feel like this book just did a great job at balancing out the like difficult, heartbreaking things with the bright, beautiful, joyful, wonderful things, and at the same time like the coming of age aspects and the romance. So the romance was really strong. I was rooting for Jules and Matt so hard. I absolutely loved the aspect of it being like an online romance at first. The texts and the calls, if you didn't know, I love that shit. And so I loved that. It's also definitely like an older YA, which I've learned is the best kind of YA for me, and I feel like a lot of other readers. So I feel like there's a lot of people, including me, who have kind of slowly found out that like we're kind of grown up a little bit and we don't love YA the same way we used to, but I do think that like for readers like me who mainly read adult romance or whatever, the YA that is set like at the end of high school or something is the best. And if you like recommendations like that, let me know. I would love to do that. So this book definitely falls into that. Julian has to figure out like what to do with college, and there's like the application process and everything, and like he basically, it like starts in this book, you know? And so I just absolutely loved it. It was incredible and I absolutely recommend it. And pretty much everyone in this book is queer, or like there's a lot of queer characters. So overall, this was a really great book and a really great start to this video. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up here because we have a lot of books to get to, but I highly recommend this book, so definitely check it out. And then now let's get into the next book, the next color, which is gonna be purple. So let's go. Before we get into the purple book of the video, I decided that for every color that we read, I'm going to mention a few books that I either want to read or read and really recommend, because I thought that, you know, it would be fun to share more books with you. And you can also tell me what books out of them you'd like to tell me to read next for another episode of this. So the first pink book that I have here is Belle Revolt by Lindsay Miller. So this one is a YA fantasy, and the first line is a standalone fantasy where two young women must trade lives, work together to stay alive, and end a war caused by magic and greed. So that sounds amazing. And then when I looked at like what rep it has, apparently there is a sapphic romance, but it's not between the two main characters. One of them is a biromantic ace girl whose romantic subplot is with another girl she meets, and then the majority of the characters are within the LGBTQ+ community. So very queer, and I know that it's available on Scribd as an audiobook, so definitely gonna be reading this. Tell me if you would like to see me read this next. Then I have My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness by Kabi Nagata. So this one is a manga, and it's described as it is an honest and heartfelt look at one young woman's exploration of her sexuality, mental well-being, and growing up in our modern age. Let me know if any of you have read it, if you liked it, if you would like to see me read it. And the last one is Bruised by Tanya Boteju, which is a YA contemporary that recently came out. I'm pretty sure it's a sports romance. Okay, I'm kind of confused about this because I thought this was sapphic, but I can see that someone asked what is the rep in here, and the person answering it said that it doesn't really label anyone's sexuality. Like, I am actually going to be reading another book by Tanya Boteju in this video, so yeah, if I find out more, I'll let you know, but it is queer, it's a YA contemporary, and I'm pretty sure it's a sports romance, and I love the cover, and yes, so if I like the book that I'm going to be reading in here by the author, I'm definitely going to read this one as well. So these are the pink books, so yes. So now I am going to talk to you about Loveless by Alice Oseman. So it is time for the purple book. And this one is another YA contemporary. I am on page 196, so almost halfway through. It's about Georgia, who has never really had a crush on anyone, and she reads a lot of fan fiction and all that kind of stuff, and she sees herself as someone who just, you know, loves romance and like loves reading about it, and she thinks that she probably, like, you know, wants to find it, but she has never really felt any kind of attraction to anyone. And so it's basically her journey and like coming of age story, figuring out her sexuality, who she is, and learning to love herself and accept herself, and just, you know, all of that. So this one has asexual and aromantic representation, and it's also kind of like queer found family. I'm pretty sure there are definitely like some sapphic side characters. I'm pretty sure that Georgia's best friend is a lesbian, and then there is like other kinds of rep. One character that was just mentioned is a romantic, and just, you know, there is all kinds of queer rep in here, and so far I really like it. I am definitely really invested in Georgia's journey. I am a little bit concerned when it comes to the length of this book. So it is over 400 pages. So if you know me, I don't really like when contemporary books go go further than like 350 pages. So that might be slightly an issue for me, but besides that, I really like it, and I really like the friendships in here, and I love how like that is such a big part of this book, and that is like the main focus of it, along with Georgia's journey. I feel like all the friends in this book are gonna be super supportive. They have been really supportive so far, but they're also just kind of like, they don't know what Georgia identifies as, and everyone's kind of like confused, and they just don't know, you know, what's going on when it comes to that. But I do think that like they are all going to be supportive, but there is quite a lot of like internalized aphobia. So Georgia mostly doesn't really know what asexuality and what is the noun of like being aromantic. Yeah, she just doesn't really know what it means fully, and so that's kind of one of the issues, but obviously she kind of slowly learns that. But she definitely has like a lot of internalized aphobia. But besides that, it is just all the other queer characters and everything. It's super chill and casual, and so I love that. So yeah, I have heard kind of mixed things about this book, but I know that a lot of people loved it and felt really seen in it. I also wanted to say that this is kind of like actually not fully YA. Like, I've seen it described as YA, but it's a little bit older. So Georgia basically starts university. So I do think it kind of feels like something in between young adult and new adult, which I think is really cool. I'm excited to read this. I feel like maybe I'm going to update you at the end of this book. We'll see. I also love this cover so much, and this is actually the first novel I've ever read by Alice Oseman. So yeah, I have read Heartstopper. I absolutely adore Heartstopper, but I haven't read any of their full-length novels. So yes, this is happening. I think those are all of my main thoughts, and I'll probably catch up with you when I finish the book. I just finished Loveless by Alice Oseman, and I ended up completely flying through it, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know why, with Alice's books, like the novels, like I said, I never read any of them before this one, and I never really was like that interested in them. I just felt like it probably wouldn't be for me, but I enjoyed this way more than I thought, and I absolutely loved how strong the friendships were in here. That was definitely the like thing that I loved the most about this book. The thing that I want to mention is that, like I said, Georgia is both aromantic and asexual, and she's completely repulsed by any sort of romantic sexual things, and I want to say that obviously it's entirely a spectrum, and I know that some people didn't really love the rep in here, but lots of people really saw themselves in this book and it meant a lot to them. So obviously the rep isn't going to be for everyone, so I feel like that's the case with everything, you know. I wanted to mention it anyway. I'm not a romantic or asexual myself, so I can't really speak to that or any like sort of personal connection to it, but you know, if it sounds good to you, then I would definitely say check it out. So again, it deals a lot with figuring out your identity. That's the main thing, and then obviously like coming out a little bit, but at the same time, like all the rep in here is really casual, which I love. So I think that's all that I'm gonna say about this book. I'm really glad that I picked it up, because I don't know if I would have picked it up without this video. So yeah, and now let's get into a few purple recommendations. So this time I have 3 books that I read and 1 book that I haven't read. So the first thing that I have here is Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Tooley. Absolutely adore this book. This is a YA sapphic fantasy, and it is about 2 witches, and one of them is basically cursed to never love, and so she can't feel any kind of love, and she meets a girl who has her own powers, and they make a deal, and it's just so magical and wonderful. It's a standalone fantasy. It's super quick to read, and it's just beautiful and I love it and I need to get a physical copy because just I adore this book. The other book that I want to recommend to you is You Should See Me in a Crime by Leah Johnson. This is a YA contemporary, and I'm actually going to be reading Leah's upcoming book in this video as well, so I'm super excited for that. And so this one is about Liz. Liz is a queer black girl and she enters for the chance to be prom queen because at her school the person who wins gets a lot of money and she needs it for college, and there she kind of has like a slight rivals lovers romance with like another girl who wants to participate in this competition, but the rivals aspect is not really that strong in the sense of like there's not a strong rivalry really, and the romance ends up just being super sweet and cute, and so I just love this book. It was filled with so much joy. The next book that I want to recommend is Once Ghosted, Twice Shy by Alyssa Cole. So this one is a novella. It's only like 100 pages and it's a sapphic black love romance. It's super cute, super fun, and I think it's a little bit steamy as well. I don't fully remember, and it's a second chance romance. So yeah, now we're gonna move into the blue. So I have officially started the blue book, which is gonna be The Kings, Queens, and In-Betweens by Tanya Botajou, and I'm halfway through. And let me know actually if you like when I do the halfway through updates and then the like final updates, or if you'd like more details along the way, or if you'd like it just depending on the book, please let me know. But yes, I got halfway through this book, and once again, it's a YA contemporary. This is definitely like a very strong focus on the coming of age story aspect. So from what I can see in the book so far and in the reviews, it does have some like romance elements, but I don't think it's actually like a romance really. Focus on our main character Nima, who is a lesbian and she is also Sri Lankan American, and she doesn't really fully know her identity, and so that is one aspect of the book, you know, her discovering it and figuring it out. And at the beginning of the book, she has a crush on this straight girl, and then she basically goes to this like party event type of thing where she meets some like drag queens and watches people in drag perform, and you know, just she gets to know drag and what it is, and that is like that kind of starts her adventure, and the drag is a part of the book after that as well, so she just gets to know the whole sphere, what it is, what it means. And so there are lots of queer side characters in here as well, and there are some trans characters. There is some homophobia, and Nima does get called a slur multiple times, but overall it is again kind of way more focused on the joy and just discovering this new like universe almost of drag and just like all these people, and I really like Nima and I'm really invested in her journey. So I finished The Kings, Queens, and In-Betweens by Tanya Botajou, and overall I enjoyed it. I did have some issues with it and some things that I didn't fully love. Like, the book does a good job at really creating messy characters who, you know, make mistakes and everything, and a lot of that was realistic, but I did feel like it went a little bit too far. Like, some of Nima's friends were a little bit like too rude, and there were some like homophobic comments even, and like I said, there is the use of homophobic slurs, and it was directed at Nima from like a person who was supposed to be her friend, and I feel like it wasn't acknowledged enough that like that wasn't a good thing, you know, if that makes any sense. But overall, I really loved Nima and I was so invested in her journey, like I said. Again, it is not exactly a romance, but there is some romance in here. I really loved the themes of Nima finding a place where she feels like herself, where she feels like she belongs. I loved how like drag was a big part of it, and some of the people that she met through drag were amazing, and so overall I enjoyed this. Again, does deal with some homophobia. I think that's all I wanted to tell you about this book, I think. I do think this book is definitely not going to be for everyone, and I can already see that in the reviews. Some people loved it, some people hated it, which obviously is the case with every book ever, but some books more than others are a little bit more out there, and so this book is definitely not for everyone, but if it sounds good to you, I would still definitely say just give it a chance, see if you like it. And now let's talk about some blue recommendations. So the first book I want to share that you have heard me talk about, probably if this is not the first video you're watching, is the book that I wrote, which is right here behind me. I don't know if I should take it out because then it's gonna be like, you know. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly take it out and put it like here to hide the empty space. So it is Dare to Live, Dare to Love, written by me, and it's an adult romance, and so it's a male-female romance, but both of the main characters are bisexual, and pretty much everyone in this book is bisexual. There's one token straight character, and there is a sapphic couple among the side characters, and some of the tropes in here are estranged best friends to lovers, who used to be childhood best friends, and then they drifted apart, and now they get reunited, and it is cute, it is steamy, it has cinnamon roll main characters, and there is also the trope of one of them gets sick and the other has to take care of them, and this book just means a lot to me, and if you want to check it out, it is always linked in the bio, so it's a blue book. So yes, and I also recently made a video where I talked about queer male-female romances, so I'm going to link that down below. I'm pretty sure all of them were also adult romances, that all of them have really casual queer representation, and so there is just, you know, fun goodness and doesn't really deal with any heavy things at all, so definitely check that out. I'm going to link it down below as well. Speaking of adult romance, I highly recommend you check out Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur. This is, like I just said, an adult romance, and it's sapphic, and it's kind of like a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice, and it is so fun and cute. I kind of heard mixed things before reading this book, and so I had low expectations, and it really surprised me, and I just loved it, and I had a blast reading it. I know it's available on Scribd as an audiobook, and so I listened to it on audio. I had a great time, and it's just so fun, and what happens in here is basically that the two main characters get set up on a blind date by one of their brothers. One of the main character's brother sets them up on a date. It goes terribly, but then they basically end up fake dating. So there's fake dating, and it's super cute, super fun, and it gets steamy as well, and it's just super lighthearted and amazing, and the queerness in here is also super casual. The last book that I haven't read yet that I am highly anticipating is The Witch King by H.E. Edgeman. This is a YA fantasy. The main character is a trans guy, and he is a witch, and has to go on a journey where he faces his traumatic past and his fiance that he left behind. And I have heard amazing things about it by the people who already read it. So this just came out in June, I think, and I have a feeling that I'm gonna love it. I also know it's available on Scribd as an audiobook. I'm kind of conflicted if I want to listen to it or get the physical copy, but I really want to read it. And I know it's not fully, it has multiple colors on the cover, but I just had to mention it because it sounds amazing and I've heard great things. So yeah. So I'm actually a total dumbass, and I forgot about two books that I own that I absolutely adore that I have to share with you that are blue. The first blue book that I forgot about is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. This book is absolutely incredible. I literally read it in one sitting. I flew through it. It was amazing and definitely one of my all-time favorite YA contemporary books. And so this one is about Ben, who is non-binary, and they come out to their parents at the beginning of the book, and unfortunately it doesn't go well, and they get kicked out of their home, so obviously that is really, really heavy. They move in with their sister, their older sister, and I loved the relationship between the two of them, because they didn't really know each other that well anymore, and so they definitely there was exploration of their sibling relationship. And then there is an absolutely beautiful, cute, adorable, wonderful romance with a boy from school, and I loved this book so much, and it definitely is heartbreaking in some moments, but at the same time it's so sweet and beautiful, and there is so much healing and just beautiful goodness, and I love this book so much, yet, and you all absolutely have to check it out if you can, and don't, if you can obviously deal with the heavier topics in there. The other book is another one of my all-time favorites, and that is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. This is a adult sci-fi sapphic romance. It is one of the most unique and beautiful books I've ever read. It completely took over my heart. The intensity of this book and all the emotions it made me feel, it was incredible. And so this book, a lot of people say, is really confusing, and I absolutely get where they're coming from. And if you're the type of person who wants to understand absolutely everything, then it would probably be confusing for you, but I have accepted in life that I will never understand everything, and so I don't mind fully understanding. And basically, the two main characters in this book, they don't fully have like physical forms, and it goes through time and space, and so some of the things that happen in here are a little bit strange and like too complicated for us to understand, but the story itself is not really complicated, I feel like, and the bond between them is incredible. And I just love this book so much, and please give it a chance. And it's also really short, and so you might need to take a little bit more time with it than normal to like not get lost in it, but I think that like it's absolutely worth it. And seriously, I thought I would be lost, and I really wasn't that much. So please check these beautiful blue books out. So I wasn't going to do an update right now, but I started The Companion by E.E. Ottoman, and I am enjoying it so much already, and I'm only at like 19%, but this book is a novella, and so it's like 122 pages. And so I thought I would do an update a little bit earlier on, because I kind of feel like I'm just gonna fly through the book, and if I didn't do an update now, I might just end up finishing the book and then talking to you, which like it would be fine. But I still like to do at least one update before I finish the book. This is a historical romance, and I forgot what year it's set, but it is definitely in the 20th century. I think it's like 1949 or 8, maybe, something like that. So that is not my favorite time period. I don't like reading like 20th century books, but this book sounded so good, and so I knew I wanted to read it anyways. And I want to read you some things that the author wrote about the book on Twitter, because he just listed down some things that you might want to know before going into it. And that, like, when I saw that, I already knew about the book before, and I think I already bought it, but just when I saw that, I was like, I need to read it right now. So it is a historical romance, obviously. MFF relationship, so it is polyamorous, which I'm so excited for. I need to read more polyamorous books. So excited about that. And there is a trans woman writer, a reclusive trans man author, a mysterious and seductive trans woman artist, sex lessons, second chances, high heat, low angst, and cottagecore vibes. So I am so excited. I feel like this is a book that not many people have read yet. It did come out recently, but I need more people to find it, and I wanted to include at least one book in this video that is just not YA contemporary and also not as well known. I mean, I feel like some of these books are not well known, and a lot of them are new releases. Obviously, in general, this whole rainbow reading series, I want to have as many different genres as possible, but it just kind of worked out with mainly YA contemporary. But I literally prefer reading adult romance the most, and so I wanted to read at least one in this video. I am probably gonna update you when I finish the book, because I just want to enjoy reading it, and I don't want to think about how I need to update you and stuff. So I will talk to you when I finish it. So I finished The Companion by E. Ottoman and absolutely loved it. It was such a beautiful, lovely, sweet book. And one more thing that I want to say about the plot, I don't want to say too much, but what I absolutely loved is that Madeline is actually from New York, and a friend called Victor invites her to stay with him in like the countryside at his house so that she can write and just be safe and do whatever she wants. And so there is like they're basically roommates, which I absolutely love. And then there's Audrey, who lives in a house right next door basically, and Audrey and Victor have a past. So absolutely love that dynamic. And it is polyamorous, it is beautiful, it is steamy as well. And like I already mentioned in like the list of things that are in this book, there is not a lot of angst at all, just very brief moments of angst, but nothing intense. And so if you just want a sweet, safe, beautiful book, you should absolutely check this one out. And again, it's only 120 pages, so you can absolutely fly through it. And I just really enjoyed this one. I'm so happy that I read it, and I need more people to read it. And E. Ottoman also has other books, so I'm sure that at least some of them also have trans main characters. And yeah, so now let's talk about some green books. So the first one is The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. I absolutely love this book so fucking much. It is a YA fantasy, a historical fantasy set in 1889 in Paris. And so the rep in here is kind of like coded and not, you know, labeled, but two characters in this book are coded as like bisexual, queer, pansexual, along those lines, and I absolutely love them. A lot of the characters are also people of color, and there's also a character who is coded as autistic, and just it is found family, and more people need to read this book. Then I have another fantasy, which is Sorcerer of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is such a beautiful magical book, and so this has a male-female romance in it, and the guy is also coded as bisexual. It is super casually mentioned. I just adore this book. There are magical books, there's a magical journey, the main character grew up in a library, and there are like the books have magic, and I just love this book, and it's a standalone. And some people I know prefer the first book by the author, some prefer this one. I personally prefer this one, and I absolutely love it, and so I highly recommend it. Then I have Tell Me How You Really Feel by Amina Meisafi. This book is another one that I adore, and this is a YA contemporary, and out of the books that I've mentioned so far, this one is, I think, has the most casual queerness. There is no coming out, so if you just want super casual queerness and you don't want to read about coming out or anything, absolutely recommend this. And so it's just a super wonderful, lighthearted contemporary romance, and it has a lot of like films in it. So the two main characters, it's kind of rivals to lovers, and they have to make a movie together, and it's just wonderful and sweet, and I just had a blast reading this one. And the last book that I want to mention is a book that I'm super excited to read, and that is The Girl from the Sea by Molly Ostertag. It's a graphic novel about family, romance, and first love. I absolutely need to get this book physically and read it as soon as possible. I love Molly Ostertag. Yes, those are the green books, and we're gonna move into yellow, which is the second to last color in this video. I have officially started Late to the Party by Kelly Quinlan, and I am halfway through and kind of having slightly conflicting feelings. This book is about Cody, who is a lesbian, and she's never been in a relationship, she's never kissed anyone, and at the beginning of the book, she is like hanging out with two of her closest friends, who one of them is bisexual and the other is gay, and they're just talking about kind of like how they don't have any experience and how they want to go to parties and do all these things that other people are doing. And then Cody runs into this boy, and she kind of catches him kissing another boy, and they talk, and they basically become friends, and they kind of are each other's like wing person. And there is a big theme of just like solidarity, and I absolutely love that. And there is gonna be a sapphic romance, which has only just kind of started getting hinted at, and so I'm excited for that. I do think that's gonna be cute, but I do think that in the end the friendship is gonna be my favorite. We'll see. The thing that I don't love is that basically Cody doesn't tell her two friends that I mentioned about the new boy that she becomes friends with, and she basically starts lying to them about all the time that she's hanging out with him and everything, which, like, I understand why that's happening, but I just really hate lying, and I don't love that. And I just know there's gonna be some big explosion and a big fight, and I don't want that. So I also don't fully like how, you know, like I mentioned, there are the discussions of like the three friends not having any relationship experience, and Cody wants to, you know, put herself out there and just experience new things, and I absolutely do get that, and that's cool and that's great. But I just wish there was a little bit more of a conversation that, like, not having that kind of experience is not a bad thing. While a lot of people are, you know, hooking up and partying and whatever, it's not for everyone. This is just a theme that we see so often, where there's like that nerdy person who doesn't have any experience and isn't popular, and, you know, it's like we often see that, like, it needs to be fixed and there needs to be a makeover and whatever, and I'm like, I just don't think that's a good message. I'm not saying this book is giving a bad message at all. It's just kind of like a general frustration that I wish it was a little bit more addressed. So I'm gonna go continue the book. I'm listening to the audiobook and really like that. So it's available on Scribd. And yes. So I have now finished Late to the Party, and I once again kind of have mixed feelings, but I think I enjoyed it, and there were definitely some things that I really loved in it. So, like I told you, like I expected, the solidarity and that whole friendship was so wonderful, and I feel like we just need to see more friendships in books, and it was just really special and wonderful to read about, and I loved that. It definitely got messy at some points, but like that all was realistic, and overall it was a really great friendship, and the sapphic romance in here was super cute. Like, it just wasn't fully for me, and I do think that some people are gonna love it, and I do think that, you know, it's cool that Cody wants to get out of her comfort zone and try new things and figure out, like, all that she could be, but I still felt like I wish there was a little bit more of something that would be like, it's not a bad thing to be nerdy and quiet and not go to parties. Now let's move into some yellow recommendations. So I have I'll Be the One by Laila Lee. Absolutely adore this book. It is a YA contemporary. It is about Sky, who is bisexual, and she wants to enter this K-pop dance and singing competition. However, she has to deal with a lot of fat phobia, but she's like, fuck everyone, I want to do this. I know I'm great at dance, I know I'm great at singing, and I deserve to be here, and I'm gonna fucking slay this show. And there is a male-female romance in here, and both of them may or may not be bisexual. And there are also some sapphic side characters, and it's just wonderful. Like, the queerness in here is super casual. There's no coming out, there's no I don't think there's any homophobia in here. I think there might be a hint of something, but only like in one moment and like in the past. Adored this book. There is also Korean American representation, and it is just absolutely wonderful, and please pick it up. I literally flew through this book. I loved it even more than I thought, and it was the best time. Then I want to mention a book that I really want to read, which is The Summer of Everything by Julian Winters. This one I don't really know much about, but from the synopsis it seems like it might be a best friends to lovers romance, which is all that I need to know. I loved How to Be Remy Cameron by Julian Winters, and so I just think it's gonna be a great time. And I don't fully know, but I do think that Julian Winters writes really lighthearted, super fun romances, and so I'm super excited to read it, and I would highly recommend you check it out. And Julian Winters has multiple books out, and I'm pretty sure all of them are queer and also feature Black main characters. Then I want to mention an orange book. So we are gonna move into red after this. I was gonna do orange, but I just felt like 7 books would be a little bit too much, especially with these like recommendation TBR type things. So this is an orange book, and that is Perfect on Paper by Sophie Gonzalez, which is one of my absolute favorite YA contemporary books. So this is the author of Only Mostly Devastated, which I'm pretty sure is also queer, but I haven't read it. This follows Darcy, who gives advice anonymously in her high school about relationships and all kinds of things like that. A guy at her school basically runs into her when she is like putting in the advice in the locker, and so he figures out that it's her, and he makes a deal with her that she will help him get his ex back, and you know, what if she does that, he won't tell anyone about her giving the advice. So this is another queer male-female romance. There's also other queer representation in here among the side characters. Darcy's sister is trans, and she started like a queer club at their school. So this does deal with some biphobia and has some conversations about it, particularly the biphobia that people who are in like a, you know, like a guy and a woman together, but at the same time it was just such a wonderful, fun rom-com, and I absolutely loved everything about it. I loved the like advice aspect of it. I loved the main characters. I just adored this book. So these are the recommendations, and now we're gonna move into the last book of the video, the red book. So let's go. Time for an update. I feel like my makeup looks like absolute trash, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm gonna try to make this update quick. So I have started Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson. I'm in love with it. And like, oh my gosh. So this is yet another YA contemporary romance, and this one is sapphic. It has black main characters. One of them is a lesbian and the other one is bisexual, and it is set at this music festival. And it follows Olivia, who kind of has a lot of like relationships that never work out and a lot of breakups, and her last breakup was really bad and it really messed her up, and so she kind of vowed to her best friend that she wouldn't go looking for any new relationships anytime soon. And then we have Tony, who is grieving the loss of her father and just kind of like super lost in her life, and so the two of them of course run into each other, and they make a deal that Tony is going to help Olivia with this like scavenger hunt that could help Olivia pay for a new car, and in return Olivia is going to help Tony with this performance that she needed another person for. And I absolutely adore the festival setting. It is so fun, and it makes me miss just festivals and concerts in like a good way, if that makes sense. And it's just so wonderful to be able to like be in that world, at least in a book. And I just absolutely love the main characters, and I'm rooting for them so much. I didn't say that I'm already on page 138, getting near the halfway point. And I wanted to do this update right now, even though I look like shit, because I just feel like tomorrow I want to dive into the book without any distractions, without, you know, thinking like I have to update or whatever. I just want to immerse myself into the story and like really savor it and absorb it, and you know, that is gonna be my update for now, and I'm gonna talk to you probably when I finish it. And just, I already know, like, you should absolutely check this book out, and I'm so happy that I got it physically, and just like, I'm in love. I cannot put into words how much I adored this book. Like, I kind of attempted to write a review for it on Goodreads, which I don't even do that often. Just, I was like, I have to share more of my thoughts with people about this book, because this is absolutely one of my new all-time favorite books. I adored it so much, and like, I don't even know what to tell you about it besides go read this book right now. So this book, again, is about two queer black girls at this music festival. I think that a lot of people will look at this book and see, you know, like 3 days, 2 girls, and think like, oh no, it's gonna be insta love and that kind of thing. And that definitely, I think, probably crossed my mind as well before I read this book, because like, obviously it's a valid concern. It is really hard to make a convincing romance in 3 days, but Leah did such an incredible job at that. I felt like not a single second of the romance felt rushed, and it honestly felt so real and realistic and beautiful, and the romance was just so sweet and loving and tender. and intense and just like in the most beautiful way. And it was just such a powerful, impactful, vulnerable, heartfelt, incredible story that touched my heart so deeply. And I know I'm gonna think about this book for so long. I know I'm never gonna forget this book, and I'm definitely gonna recommend it over and over again. And you know, like the setting, I love music, and just like Tony had to find her way back to music because she kind of like lost the connection to music because her dad passed away and she had music connected with him, and so she just kind of, you know, like found the spark to sing again thanks to Olivia. And Olivia had to learn how to love herself and to just like learn that the way she is isn't wrong, and even though she's imperfect and makes mistakes, that doesn't mean that she isn't just right the way that she is. And both of our main characters just had so many things that they needed to learn, and the way that that was handled was so wonderful. We do have points of view from both Tony and Olivia, and I felt like that worked so perfectly, and the two points of view were so balanced. As well as, again, I've mentioned this before, it might have been even in this video, the coming of age and romance was also perfectly balanced. And like I feel like that's like this book does it in the best way I've ever read. And it's I don't know how to express how much I loved this book. And so I feel like I'm gonna leave it at that. But if you want a book that is about love and friendships and learning to love yourself and finding what to do with your life, all of that and so much more, and also dealing with loss. And there are some content warnings, so do check those out. While there are a lot of painful moments, there's also just so much hope and love and goodness in here, and I absolutely recommend you check this one out. Also, the queerness in here is super casual. Olivia is bisexual and Tony is a lesbian, and then another side character is sapphic. It's not like named, but she is sapphic in some way. And so we have multiple queer characters, and there's no coming out, it's super casual. I'm so happy that I could get the book physically, and I will cherish it forever, and I can't wait for every single book that Leah writes, because while I adored You Should See Me in a Crown, I loved this one even more, and I just need every book by Leah, and like, oh my god. So I am going to mention 2 read books that I think you should check out, and then we're finally going to wrap up this video. The first read book that I want to mention is one that I haven't read that I want to read, and that is Dragon Pearl by Yoon-Ha Lee. This is one of the Rick Riordan Presents books, and I don't know if this book has queer rep in it, but anyways, Yoon-Ha Lee is a trans author. You know, I think it's important to support queer books in the sense that like the authors are queer or trans, even when the books themselves don't have that kind of rep. So this book is one that I've been wanting to read for so long. It is Korean mythology and one of the Rick Riordan Presents books, and so it's also middle grade, I think, but this one is actually sci-fi, and so I'm super excited to see that, because like any of the Rick Riordan Presents or Rick's books, they're always set in our world, and so I'm super excited to see how that's gonna look. And just I think this is gonna be amazing, and I've been wanting to read it for so long, and I really need to get to it super soon. And then the other book that I have to mention is one of my new favorites, and that is In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. This book is a YA fantasy, kind of has that like slightly older feel, honestly, like kind of new adult. The main character is pansexual and she is a mage, and her father always told her not to ever show her magic, and then she accidentally reveals her magic, and she is assigned an undead guard because everyone with magic is just kind of controlled in this kingdom, and they have to have a guard and, you know, like work for the crown and whatever. And so she ends up working together with the undead guard, and then there's also this princess, and there may or may not be a little bit of polyamory going on. It is just such an incredible book. There's also a non-binary side character who I absolutely love, and so there are friendships and badass main characters and love and like political intrigue and so much goodness in this book. It's also a standalone, and it's just so incredible. It is definitely very character focused, And while I feel like the book could have had a little bit more content and could have been developed a tiny bit more, it was just so incredible, and I was so happy with like what we do get. And I just think that it's one that you should absolutely check out, and the author is also non-binary, so I absolutely recommend this book. And with that, we're finally wrapping up this video. Thank you so much for watching it if you made it this far, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And tell me in the comments down below what your favorite queer books are, or what are the queer books on top of your TBR. And if you made it this far in the video, leave any like rainbow hearts you want in the comments. And thank you so much again for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Let me know if you would like to see this again, and if you have any books that you'd like to see me read. And that's finally gonna be it. So have a great day, and I'm gonna see you soon in another video. Bye!